I think Dr. King's legacy is one of leadership, one of vision, one of setting a standard for how we understand who our fellow citizens are and who we are as Americans. He spoke to all of those issues very eloquently. When I met Dr. King, I was involved in a summer mentoring program, and I was in a journalism workshop. And at that time, Dr. King had been named the year previous, he was named Man of the Year by Time magazine. So everywhere he went, the press followed him. So he addressed the people who were taking part in the program. I was involved in the mentoring program. He addressed all of the participants. It was about 200 or 300 kids in Harlem. And he told them that what they were trying to do to make Harlem a better place by finding out what was wrong and trying to work on those issues, that was going to be something that bore really serious fruit. So he spoke to us, and then after the event, the press interviewed him, and as a member of the press, they gave me press credentials, and I covered the event like I was with the press corps. So it was, the very first person I interviewed as a journalist was Dr. King. Wow. When somebody like that touches your life in that way, it has a profound effect. And it enabled me to get more behind what he was doing and how he was doing it. Because, there was a debate going on as to, was his approach better or were other more militant approaches better? And really the answer was that all people who were concerned about the issues needed to come together and deal with the issues and work out all the other stuff later. We found that out the hard way. But, Dr. King was a leader in all of that. So I think what he means to America is very profound because we're still trying to get to the point where we have achieved all of the things that he envisioned when he said, "We shall overcome." My most poignant memory of Dr. King would be as he made some of the points of some of his public speeches. The speech that he gave at the March on Washington in 1963. It's part of American history. That's just as important and just as profound as the Gettysburg Address, or maybe President Roosevelt addressing the nation after the attack on Pearl Harbor. I mean, those words are etched in our collective memory and history and are part of what America is. The things that I learned from Dr. King have to do with perseverance and getting to the point where you learn how to communicate with your fellow human beings. It's probably one of the most difficult lessons that we as humans have tried to absorb. And we keep thinking we have it figured out, and we don't. We keep placing ourselves in a position where we have to work on it. And it requires constant vigilance. We get to the point where all of a sudden we don't like the people around us, and they are our fellow human beings. And in America, they are our fellow citizens. How do we get along? It should be a lot easier than it has proven to be. But hopefully we're making progress. I think Dr. King's effect on me personally was my ability to identify goals and understand that it takes a while to get to the point where you're satisfied with what you wanted to achieve with your goals. It takes a while. And watching what he went through in his life, and it ended so tragically, but he could see that maybe America was going to get there eventually, but he didn't live to see it. So there's a lot of disappointment involved, but we can't give up on our vision, and we can't stop working for all the things that we want to achieve. Dr. King changed the trajectory of my life by giving me a different idea about what a life well-lived could be. Again, he achieved so much, but the goals that he identified, we didn't get there, but just in pointing those out and helping America identify the best way to make our republic grow and become stronger in one nation. I think he gave us some tools to get there. Dr. King was able to galvanize America because America saw eventually that what he wanted was just, that black Americans did deserve first-class citizenship. It should not be a difficult thing for people to get that, but it took all of his hard work and sacrifice, including dying the way he did, for America to get the message. Dr. King's message has resonated for so long. It is because, as Americans, it's something that we all aspire to. It's very noble. It's what every country should aspire to. But as Americans, we've gotten the closest to that ideal. The whole idea of every individual being worthy and every individual having the right to a vote and to have his or her opinion recorded, and that justifying their citizenship. That should be the common experience for all people in all nations. But I think in America we've come the closest to really making it a reality there for personal freedom. It actually happens here. Martin Luther King Jr. Day sometimes allows us to pat ourselves on the back for what has been achieved, and it allows us to ignore the work that we have to do to get to the real goals of first-class citizenship for all Americans. We haven't gotten there yet. There are obvious indications that we haven't. So, that's why I'm critical of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, because the fact that we have a holiday does not mean that we have achieved all of the necessary objectives of Dr. King's life work. Dr. King's objectives for where America should go, he was talking about economic equality, something that we need to really be careful about, because the wealth disparity between those who have and those who do not have is becoming more dramatic as time goes on. That's not a good thing. We should protect and allow our middle class to grow. That has been the best path for our country since its inception, and I think we're getting away from that. So, I think the ongoing emphasis on diversity and equality is a worthy thing for our country, and I hope we stick to it. Complacency, within the people, the community that admires Dr. King, they think that everything's swell. Everything is not swell. But that kind of complacency is dangerous. It's something that allows us to let bad things continue to fester, and that's not a good thing. As far as where we are in the arc of justice, because at different perspectives, people can see different things. So people who have done well and have benefited from modern society, I would say that they would see it in a lot more positive light than people who are struggling. I think we still have work to do with regard to equality and equal opportunity for every American. The whole disparity in educational opportunities and successes, really affects that. My dream for the next 50 years is that Americans continue to educate the youngest among us in more effective and intuitive ways. The whole idea of how to educate young people really is what gives us the next generation of knowledge and innovation and hopefully progress. Our educational system really needs to keep pace with what's possible in terms of doing a better job of educating the youngest among us. Young people really need to understand the context that Dr. King had to deal with, just what America was about as the Second World War ended, and Black Americans had this new consciousness about combating racism after seeing what happened in the effort to eliminate fascism, World War II. And we had the same problems here in America. A segment of our population was being discriminated against in the same way that Jews and other minorities were discriminated against in Nazi Germany. And Black Americans saw the correlation of everything and decided that they needed to risk it all, but we needed to move forward and achieve our own liberation. And I think Dr. King was the ideal person to lead that movement. And the people that inspired him, Vernon Johns, who was Dr. King's mentor, those people really are still in the shadows, but they were also visionaries and helped Dr. King form his vision. And I think that as we go forward, we should learn a little bit about that whole context. The people who helped get Dr. King's movement up and running. Americans can honor Dr. King's legacy by just having an honest look in the mirror as to what we can all do to not give racism and bigotry the opportunity to get a foothold on our public psyche, on our institutions and stuff. We really need to eliminate that. It's a poison, and it can ruin our society. Some people think that just because the poorest among us are the ones who are the ones that suffer, and that's okay. It's not okay. And the ills that they have to deal with will end up being a problem for all Americans, in every segment of society. So I think, our own efforts at self-preservation should also be part of our concern. And we need to survive as the righteous place that our founding fathers envisioned. I had heard a lot about the monument to Dr. King in Washington, D.C., but, it's kind of hard to imagine it, even from the photographs that you might see of it beforehand. But it's magnificent, because it shows him just, to me, he is a colossus, in terms of what he stood for and the moral certainty of his vision. It's all there, and just very well stated. I think it's a beautiful monument, and people should appreciate it.